The last stand at Meridian Station. The dying light. Commander Sarah Mitchell watched the stars disappear one by one. Not because night was falling, there was no night in space, but because the Vrex swarm was blocking them out. Her hands gripped the armrest of her command chair aboard Meridian Station as another explosion lit up the void. That was the cargo hauler Destiny's Hope, gone in an instant with 47 souls aboard. Sarah had been in command of this mining station for 8 years. It was supposed to be a quiet posting, a place where families could live and work in peace. The asteroid belt around Kepler 442b was rich in rare minerals, and the colony below on the planet's surface had grown to over 2 million people. Children went to school here. Couples got married. People built lives. Now all of that was ending. The Vrex had appeared 3 weeks ago without warning. They were a species nobody had encountered before, crystalline beings that lived in the vacuum of space itself. Their ships, if you could call them ships, were massive geometric structures that pulsed with inner light. They didn't communicate. They didn't negotiate. They simply consumed everything in their path, breaking down matter into energy to fuel their expansion across the galaxy. The desperate defense. Lieutenant Commander James Park approached Sarah's station, his face pale under the emergency lighting. The main power grid had failed 6 hours ago, and they were running on backup generators. Commander, we've lost the defense platform at Sector 7. That leaves us with only 3 operational weapons platforms out of 12. Sarah nodded slowly. She had known this moment would come. The mathematics of their situation were brutal and simple. Meridian Station and its allied vessels had started with 34 ships. Now they had 11, and most of those were damaged. The Vrex had over 200 crystalline vessels, and every time the humans destroyed one, it seemed like 2 more took its place. How many people are still on the evacuation transports? Sarah asked. We've got 15,000 civilians packed into the last 3 transports, but Commander, there's a problem. James hesitated. The Vrex have formed a blockade. The transports can't break through. If they try, they'll be destroyed before they make it to the hyperspace jump point. Sarah felt something cold settle in her stomach. 15,000 people. 15,000 lives depending on her decisions. She thought of little Emma Chen, the 7-year-old daughter of her chief engineer. Emma loved to draw pictures of spaceships and always brought them to Sarah's office. Was Emma on one of those transports? Probably. What about the colony planet? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer would be bad. The Vrex have started orbital bombardment. The underground shelters are holding for now, but the geologists estimate they have maybe 48 hours before the Vrex crack through to the core. After that. James didn't need to finish the sentence. After that, 2 million people would die. A forgotten signal. Sarah stood and walked to the main viewport. The Vrex swarm looked like a geometric nightmare, thousands of crystalline shapes moving in perfect mathematical patterns. Beautiful and terrifying at the same time. She had sent 11 distress calls to the United Earth Government and the Colonial Alliance. The responses had been the same each time. Reinforcements were coming, but they were at least 5 days away. Meridian Station didn't have 5 days. They probably didn't have 5 hours. Her second officer, Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez, approached with a tablet. Commander, I found something in the old station archives. Something that might help, or might be completely useless. I'll take anything at this point, Sarah said. Maya pulled up a file on the tablet. This station was built 80 years ago, during the expansion era. Back then, this whole sector was considered frontier space. The original builders installed an ancient emergency beacon system, something left over from even earlier colonial days. What kind of beacon? Sarah asked, taking the tablet. It's called a void caller. The documentation is sparse, but from what I can tell, it sends a distress signal using quantum entanglement technology. It broadcasts to old colonial networks that probably don't even exist anymore. Maya paused. But there's a note here that's interesting. It says the beacon was specifically designed to reach old Earth's deep space response units. Sarah felt her breath catch. Old Earth. Humanity's birthplace. The planet that everyone thought was gone, lost during the Great Silence 150 years ago. During humanity's rapid expansion across the stars, Earth had stopped communicating. Some said it was destroyed in a civil war. Others claimed the people of Earth had transcended, becoming something beyond human. Most people simply assumed everyone on Earth had died from ecological collapse or nuclear war. Activating the impossible. Earth is gone, Maya, Sarah said quietly. Everyone knows that. Maybe, Maya replied. But what if it's not? What if they're just quiet? The beacon only takes 15 minutes to activate and power up. We're going to die here anyway, Commander. What do we have to lose? Sarah looked around her bridge. The crew were exhausted, running on stimulants and desperation. They had fought brilliantly, making the Vrex pay for every meter of space, but bravery couldn't overcome such overwhelming numbers. Maya was right. They had nothing to lose. Do it, Sarah ordered. Activate the Void Caller. Maya moved quickly, pulling up ancient systems that hadn't been touched in decades. The engineering team had to reroute power from non-essential systems, which at this point meant almost everything except life support and shields. The beacon was located in the deepest part of the station, in a section that still had the old colony markings on the walls. While they worked, the Vrex pressed their attack. 2 more ships were destroyed, their crews fighting to the last second. The defense platforms were running out of ammunition. The shields on Meridian Station itself were down to 23% capacity. Beacon is active, Maya reported. Broadcasting on all old Earth emergency frequencies. Quantum signal is stable and transmitting. How long until we know if anyone receives it? Sarah asked. If anyone is listening, and if they respond immediately, we might hear something in 30 minutes. But Commander, realistically, I don't think. An alarm cut her off. James shouted from his station, Vrex attack formation. They're concentrating their entire fleet. I think they're preparing for a final assault. Sarah watched the tactical display. All 200-plus Vrex vessels were forming into a massive geometric pattern, a crystalline flower of death that pulsed with gathered energy. When they fired, nothing would survive. All ships, fall back to Meridian Station, Sarah ordered over the fleet channel. Concentrate all defensive fire on protecting the evacuation transports. We give those civilians every second we can. The remaining human ships moved into position, 11 vessels against an armada. Sarah thought about writing a final message to her family back on New Terra, but there wasn't time. She thought about all the things she would never do, places she would never see, the life she would never have. A light in the darkness. Then something impossible happened. Commander, sensors are showing a massive spatial distortion. The sensor officer's voice cracked with shock. It's at the edge of the system, near the hyperspace barrier. Space itself is tearing open. On the main screen, reality was bending. A wound in space opened up, bleeding light that shouldn't exist. The distortion was huge, kilometers across, and growing larger. What is that? Someone whispered. I don't know, Sarah admitted. Could it be more Vrex? No, the energy signature is completely different. This is. I've never seen anything like this. It's not any known hyperspace technology. The Vrex had noticed it too. Part of their fleet was breaking away, 50 vessels moving to investigate the anomaly. They formed their geometric attack pattern, ready to destroy whatever emerged. The tear in space widened. Something was coming through. Something massive. Sarah could see the outline now, a shape that defied easy description. It was a ship, but like no ship she had ever seen. Angular and organic at the same time, covered in what looked like armor plating that shifted and moved like living skin. The ship that emerged from the spatial tear was 18 kilometers long. 18 kilometers. Meridian Station itself was only 2 kilometers across. This thing was a mobile city, a fortress, a legend made real. Reading hull markings, the communications officer said, her voice shaking. It's in English. Old English. The ship's name is Prometheus. Registry shows. United Earth Defense Force. Commander, that registry code is over 200 years old. Sarah's heart was pounding. An Earth ship. A ship from humanity's birthplace, emerging from nowhere to answer their desperate call. The Vrex didn't hesitate. All 50 ships opened fire on the newcomer, their crystalline weapons releasing beams of concentrated energy that could melt through any known armor. The beams struck Prometheus directly. And nothing happened. The energy simply dispersed across the hull, absorbed or deflected by systems Sarah couldn't begin to understand. Prometheus didn't slow down. It accelerated straight toward the Vrex formation. Then it fired back. What happened next would be burned into Sarah's memory forever. Prometheus opened up with weapons that turned the Vrex ships into clouds of glittering dust. Rail guns that fired projectiles at relativistic speeds. Energy weapons that didn't just damage, they unmade their targets at a fundamental level. Point defense systems that created webs of intersecting fire so precise that not a single Vrex shot got through. In 4 minutes, all 50 Vrex ships were gone. Destroyed so completely there wasn't even debris left. A transmission came through. The voice was human, female, calm and steady. Meridian Station, this is Captain Diana Zhang of the UEDF Prometheus. We received your beacon. Hold your position. Earth is here, and we're not leaving without you. Sarah sat down heavily in her command chair. Her crew was staring at the screen in shock and wonder. Earth hadn't forgotten them. Humanity's birthplace had been listening all along, waiting in the dark. And now they had come home to save their children. The battle for Meridian Station was about to change in ways none of them could imagine.